Mark is my old friend. We attended the same high school and were friends for 8 years before I married my first husband. He had many opportunities to approach me and take our friendship to an upper emotional level prior to my relationship and marriage with my first husband. But he never said anything. When my first husband and I decided to get married, I asked Mark to be my witness. In the country where we all live, 2 witnesses are necessary for a marriage. And these witnesses are something like man of honor or maid of honor in Western cultures. But they are by no means sacred people, which is relevant for the story. Mark said nothing and agreed to be my witness. We continued being friends throughout my marriage. He never liked my first husband, but I had never thought of jealousy being the reason for that. Mark is quite a conservative person, and he strongly disliked the fact that my first husband consumed alcohol every now and then. So I thought it was the reason why he disliked my first husband. 2 years after the wedding, I gave birth to my daughter. 3 years after her birth, my first husband had an affair. But not just an affair, but actual relationship with another woman. He came clean and said to me, to his parents, to my parents and to all our friends that he wanted to be with that other woman. So we divorced amicably within 48 hours. And that was it. But I was pretty upset and shattered by my husband's infidelity. My self-esteem was virtually non-existent. At the time of divorce, I was 29, and Mark was 31. On my 30th birthday, I was quite depressed. I didn't want to celebrate it. I didn't invite anybody. Mark called me to ask how I was, so we talked for hours that evening and all through the night. He really was kind and supportive, and trying to encourage me. At one point he said that he was jealous of my ex-husband. He did not deserve you. I was so furious when you decided to marry him. I was way too depressed that day to ask him why he hadn't said anything at the time. I sobbed, cried, vented, and eventually went to bed. Next few months Mark regularly visited me and called me, so we had long conversations. He really helped me out of my depression. But along the way, he confessed his feelings for me, and 6 months later, we slept together and started a relationship. However, from day one, he insisted that we keep our relationship secret. I was your wedding witness, you are barely 1 year divorced, people might think that you pushed your ex-husband away from me. We both know that is not the case, but people don't. I agreed, because I was still struggling with my depression and low self-esteem. He was a good friend, always there for me, and very nice to my daughter, who was 4 at the time. However, 2 years into our secret relationship, I told him that it was no longer necessary to keep our relationship secret. But then he came up with all kinds of excuses. I have never been married, and you are a divorcee. My parents would not accept you. But I will always be a divorcee, I said, but you also have a child from the first marriage. And I will always have a child. I know, but I think we should wait. I must prepare my parents and find a way to tell them we are together, so that they can accept you. I was hurt by this. I even asked him if he was ashamed of me. He denied that. I also asked him why he hadn't told me he had feelings for me before I got married to my first husband. He said that he was too scared. So, I decided to give him some time to figure things out. A few months later, while our relationship was still secret, he gave me a ring and told me we were engaged. Again, in secret. I was not to tell anyone about it, not even my parents. I told him that engagements should not be kept secret. This wasn't how we do things in our culture. Please understand me, I don't want to lose you, and I still don't know how to tell my parents. I was angry, I admit. But I decided to be patient. 6 months after our secret engagement, he proposed marriage, but only church marriage. And again, nobody may know. Not his parents, not my parents, not our friends, nobody. It was already 4 years after my divorce, 3 years into our relationship. I told him that such marriage was out of the question. I even asked him, and when we have our child together, would you also insist to maintain secrecy and never to reveal who his father is? He got upset and even angry. You don't understand. Should I burn all the bridges between me and my parents? They will not accept you. This is the only way. I declined his marriage proposal. I gave him an ultimatum: I will marry you when you tell your parents about us and when our relationship is no longer secret. For the next 3 months we barely spoke. Then I got a job abroad. I really needed that job. So I called him and told him that I was going with my daughter to another country and that my employment contract has a term of 3 years. He didn't like it. But there was nothing he could do about it. I needed this job. I was a single mother, my ex-husband and his new wife were both arrested and facing imprisonment, and I was the sole provider for me and my child. So I told Mark, I will go abroad. We are no longer together. I hope you will meet a nice single girl who will be eagerly accepted by your parents. I really meant it, he was furious. But I didn't care anymore. I prioritized my daughter. So I left. 2 years later, in that other country, I met a guy who immediately wanted a serious relationship with me. We were together for 6 months, when he proposed to me. He flew to my country to meet my parents, to see my hometown, to get to know my culture better. He even told me, we can live in my country if you want. I can arrange for the residence permit, or we can move to your country and live there. If you are more comfortable with that. He is a programmer, so he can work remotely from anywhere in the world. So we agreed to move to my country and live there. But the story with Mark doesn't end there. When he heard that I got married and that my husband will move with me and my daughter to my hometown, he said to everyone, including my parents, that I betrayed him, that we were engaged to be married, and that I cheated on him. My parents know the whole story. But all our friends are not familiar with it. And they all tell me that I am an a-hole for betraying Mark. My new husband is really a great guy and he trusts me. I told him everything. He said that I was stupid to even accept to be in a secret relationship and that Mark was a manipulative a-hole, but my husband loves me and could be subjective. My parents are also on my side, but they could also be subjective. But everyone else? They all believe Mark and nobody wants to know my part of the story. They never even knew that we were in a relationship for 3 years, but for some reason, they all believe Mark and shun me. I really think I am not an a-hole. I explicitly broke up with Mark prior to going abroad. I even gave him the ring back. The bank called at 9 a.m. to tell me our mortgage payment bounced. I was holding my coffee when they said we had $12 left in our joint account. I logged in right there at my desk. She'd made a wire transfer for $43,000 4 days ago. The memo line said, for Emma's treatment. Emma is her sister. The same sister who makes twice what I make and drives a Mercedes. I left work. Came home. My wife was in the kitchen making lunch like it was a normal Tuesday. We need to talk about the mortgage. She looked up from her sandwich. What about it? It bounced. Because you emptied our account. She put down the knife. I was going to tell you. When? After we lost the house. Don't be dramatic. I'll put money back before that happens. I pulled out my phone and showed her the balance. $12. Where did $43,000 go? Emma needed it. For IVF. They had to pay up front and she didn't have enough saved yet. I stared at her. That's our mortgage savings. Our emergency fund. Everything we've been putting away for 3 years. She's my sister. She's been trying to have a baby for 2 years. This was her last chance before she ages out of her clinic's program. Did you ask me? I knew you'd say no. You're damn right I would have said no. That's not your money. That's our money. For our house. Our life. She crossed her arms. Family helps family. That's what you do. Then why didn't her husband help? Why didn't your parents help? Why is it coming from our mortgage payment? Her husband did help. They came up with $60,000 between them. They needed another 43 to reach the total. My parents are retired, they don't have that kind of cash. I was the only one who could. We were the only ones who could. Except you didn't ask You just took it. I'm on the account. It's my money too. I felt something snap. You know what? You're right. Family helps family. She smiled like she'd won. So your family can help you find a new place to live. The smile dropped. What? You heard me. Get out. You can't kick me out of my own house. Watch me. You want to make $43,000 decisions solo? Fine. Make your housing decisions solo too. You're insane. I'm not leaving. Yes you are. I called my brother. He's a locksmith. Told him I needed new locks today, right now, emergency. He asked if I was sure. I said yes. My wife started crying. Real tears, not the manipulation kind. We can fix this. I'll call Emma. I'll get the money back. It's in a fertility clinic. You think they refund? We can work it out. Marriage counseling. Whatever you need. What I need is a partner who doesn't steal from me. It's not stealing when it's a joint account. You're right again. So I'm closing it. Opening my own. You can do whatever you want with your paycheck. But you're doing it somewhere else. She called me controlling. Abusive. Said I was punishing her for helping her sister. She called her mother, who called me screaming about how I'm destroying the family. She called Emma, who didn't answer. My brother showed up at 2 p.m. Changed the locks on both doors while my wife was in the bedroom on the phone. When she came out and saw what was happening, she tried to physically stop him. He just stepped around her and kept working. This is illegal. You can't change the locks. I had my laptop open to our state's tenancy laws. You're not a tenant. Your name's not on the deed. I inherited this house from my grandfather. You have no legal claim. Her face went white. She'd forgotten. We'd had the conversation when we got married. She wanted her name added. I said after we paid off more of the mortgage. That never happened because she kept spending our savings on her family's emergencies. She packed a bag. Told me I'd regret this. Told me her lawyer would destroy me. Told me I was heartless for not caring about Emma's dream of being a mother. Emma's dream cost me my financial security. She's got 2 working adults in her household and a 6-figure income. She could have taken a loan. Banks won't give fertility loans. Then that's her answer. Not my savings account. She left at 4 p.m. Didn't say goodbye. Slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. Emma called me that night. Crying. Begging me to understand how much this meant to her. How this was her last chance. How could I put money over family? Did your sister tell you she stole it from our mortgage payment? Silence. Did she mention our house payment bounced? That we're now in default? More silence. I'm sorry about your situation. But your sister made a choice that affects my life without asking me. That's not family helping family. That's theft. She hung up. My wife's been staying at her parents' house. They've been blowing up my phone, calling me every name you can think of. Her dad threatened to come over. I reminded him that's called trespassing, and I've got the new locks to prove I'm serious about boundaries. The mortgage company is charging me a late fee and a bounced payment fee. I had to drain my personal savings to cover this month's payment plus penalties. Money I was saving for a new roof. My wife texted yesterday asking when she can come get her stuff. I said she can come by Saturday between 10 and noon, supervised. She asked why supervised. I said because I don't trust her not to take things that aren't hers. She hasn't responded. Emma posted on Facebook about how hard infertility is and how blessed she is to have family support. 47 people liked it. My wife commented with a heart emoji. I'm sitting in my house alone wondering if I overreacted. If I should have handled it differently. If I'm the one who destroyed the marriage, but then I look at my bank account and see the overdraft fees and the scrambling I've had to do to fix her decision. And I think about how she didn't even hesitate before clicking that transfer button. So I don't know. Am I wrong? My mother-in-law grabbed the microphone at our wedding reception and told 200 guests that her son could have married a doctor. The DJ had just announced our first dance. She literally walked up, took the mic from him, and said, "Well, my son could have married a doctor, but I suppose love makes us overlook things." People gasped. My parents went pale. My husband just stood there frozen. I smiled, raised my champagne glass, and said, "To settling," loud enough for the front tables to hear. Half the room laughed nervously. She turned red and handed the mic back. That was 5 years ago last month. My husband graduated medical school. His mother called me 3 weeks before the ceremony asking what she should wear for the photos and whether she'd get to say a few words at the dinner after. I told her we were keeping it small, just us. She huffed and said, "I think I've earned the right to celebrate my son's accomplishment." Here's what she doesn't know. I worked double shifts as a nurse for 4 years straight to pay his tuition. I picked up every holiday, every overnight, every weekend nobody wanted. I brought in 90% of our household income while he studied. We lived in a 600 square foot apartment because that's what we could afford on my salary alone. I ate ramen for lunch most days so we could make rent and his book fees. His mother never asked how we were managing. Never offered a dime. Never even asked if he needed anything. But she told everyone at her country club that her son was becoming a doctor, showed them his acceptance letter, posted his white coat ceremony photos on Facebook like she'd been there. She wasn't. She had a spa day scheduled. At graduation. She showed up in a cream dress that was basically a wedding gown and positioned herself right next to us for photos. When they called his name, she cried these loud, theatrical sobs. People kept hugging her, congratulating her. One of his classmates' mothers told her, "You must be so proud, all your sacrifice paid off." I waited until we got to the restaurant. His whole family was there, his aunt and uncle, his cousins, his grandmother who's always been cold to me. His mother stood up with a champagne glass and started this whole speech about, when he was a little boy, I always knew, and the sacrifices a mother makes. My husband looked at me. I nodded. He stood up, pulled an envelope from his jacket, and handed it to her. "Since you want to talk about sacrifices, I thought you should see these." She opened it confused. Inside were copies of every single student loan receipt. Every payment. Every late fee we'd incurred when money was tight. Every single one had my name on it. My signature. My bank account. "What is this?" she asked. "Proof," he said. "That's my wife's name on every payment for the last 4 years. She worked 70-hour weeks. She gave up her own grad school plans. She's the reason I'm a doctor. You didn't sacrifice anything." Her face went white, then red. "I raised you. I sacrificed my career. You worked part-time at a boutique until I was 12 and then stopped entirely when Dad's business took off," he said flatly. "My wife is the one who sacrificed. And you humiliated her at our wedding." His grandmother actually gasped. His aunt grabbed the papers, looked through them, then set them down without saying anything. His mother's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "We're leaving," my husband said. He took my hand and we walked out. "She's been blowing up both our phones ever since." His dad called and said we embarrassed her and that I'm turning their son against them. His aunt sent a long text about family unity and how mothers deserve respect. But his grandmother sent flowers to our apartment yesterday with a card that said, "About time someone stood up to her." His mother is now telling everyone we banned her from our lives and that I'm controlling and manipulative. She's playing victim hard. Some of his extended family believes her version. My own parents think we should have handled it privately. But she humiliated me publicly. She tried to take credit publicly. So he shut it down publicly.